Hello and welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari alleges that lawyers and judges are slowing down Nigeria's anti-corruption war. Kidnappers go wild, abduct traditional ruler in Lagos, and later in the program, Nigeria's inflationary rate hits the highest point in 11 years. I'll be joined by Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Wale Adeoye, and Wahid Bakare. Hangout starts now. Yesterday, President Muhammadu Buhari expressed concern over delayed tactics being adopted by judicial officers and lawyers to clog the wheel of his anti-corruption campaign. He accused judges of conniving with lawyers to frustrate speedy dispensation of justice. But is Mr. President right in his accusation? Recent events suggest that President Buhari might be right after all. In April this year, NJC fired 2 judges and ordered 2 others to refund 10-month salaries. Just yesterday, the commission recommended the compulsory retirement of 2 High Court judges, Justice Muhammad Nasiru Yunusa and Justice Olamide Folahomi Oloyede. Their compulsory retirement was linked to corruption and partisanship. Will Nigeria make any headway when corruption gets asked to judge corruption? Let me start from Wale Adeoye. This is getting interesting.
Yep.
Because when you look at, the president is saying that he attended a workshop yesterday and is saying that the judiciary is slowing down the fight against corruption. For the benefit of our viewers, can you break this down? What you understood what the president said?
Well, what makes it new or striking is the fact that it has come out from the lips of the president. But it's a fact that we have always known, that you cannot have a corrupt society, a corrupt political economic institutions, corrupt economic and political institutions, and you expect to have a transparent judiciary. So I think it's a reflection of the rot in the system. And we also have to take a look at why do we have a judiciary that is corrupt. There are so many reasons. For instance, if you look at the funding, of the judiciary, we're supposed to come through the NJC. But the funding is not enough. So most of the state judiciaries need to depend on state governors for patronage in terms of furniture, in terms of housing. So in most of the states of the federation, the judiciary is an appendage. It's a footnote, of the executive. And I think what the president has said is just a fact that we have known over a very long time. And when you run a system that is not transparent, there is no effective way of measuring asset acquisition by individuals and corporate institutions. You cannot even track down, the wealth of individuals and corporate organizations. People that are buying houses up and down. You can't. There are no records to say, okay, a new house has been bought in Ikeja and belongs to so and so. Then it will be very, very difficult to monitor which judge is corrupt or not. But I think it's a fact that we have to admit that the Nigerian judiciary is corrupt. And I think it's worse for a country when you have a judiciary that is quite corrupt. It's really going to destroy the moral fabric of the society at large.
I'm looking at the prosecution of corruption. Court cases not going well, according to President Buhari. Right now, I can't count the number of court cases we have, when it comes to corruption in Nigeria, and they have their hands full. The judiciary right now, they have their hands full and everything. And the president is looking at it that, look, with all the cases we have with the judiciary right now, the people that are being prosecuted for one corruption or the other, especially these politically exposed people, that his assessment is that this thing is not going as planned. So they've not gotten conviction a year after, and it's not certain, because even if they got conviction in the first, in the lower courts, these people, they have the wherewithal to go as far as the Supreme Court, so they might not get conviction in 2-3 years' time.
Yes, like Adeoye rightly said, it's quite unfortunate if for a country to have a judiciary system that is highly corrupt, because it will have a spiral effect on so many things. Now, I'll take you back to 2007, when there was this interim report by the EFCC that they discovered, or let me say they allege, that former Rivers State Governor Odili, was involved in corruption of over 100 billion naira. That was in January. They came up with that interim report in January 2007. By February, the then Commissioner of Justice and Attorney General of that state, went to court and, asked the court to stop EFCC from investigating, from doing further investigation, and for the court to also declare that interim report null and void and illegal. And surprisingly, that was brought before a federal high court judge who granted all the injunction sought. In the past, we used to believe that courts, or as the case may be, judges, they are not Father Christmas. But we now have a situation whereby they are even doing more than Father Christmas. Some of them are not even bothered. They can even go to the extent of, going to put additional relief that were not sought by
just to defend them.
When you have a situation like that, of course, the case cannot go forward. So how do you now get conviction? Because we all know, whether we like it or not, as long as there is an injunction restraining EFCC from doing anything on a particular case, there is no moral. They don't have any justification to say they want to go against what the court has said. In the case of Odili, they even went to the appeal court to say, no, we are appealing this ruling by the Federal High Court. At the Court of Appeal, the case was never listed, because there's what we call cost list. If you go to any court, you always find it there. They call it cost list, whereby they will list all the cases that are to come up, not only in that court, but in all the courts on that premises. But for so many months, they never listed the case. So if a case was not listed, how are you going to get conviction? On what ground are you coming to talk to the judge that these are the facts we have, that this thing should go on? But they frustrated it, they prevented it from happening. Also look at the case of this one that happened about 2 or 3 days ago, the one you mentioned, whereby a court, prevented EFCC from investigating and prosecuting Stella Odua. It's quite unfortunate, because I keep wondering, it is only in Nigeria that I've seen a situation whereby people will run to court, they will preempt courts. I don't say, is there anything wrong if EFCC want to investigate you? If you don't have any skeleton in your cupboard, why do you have to rush to court to say that they should prevent them from investigating you? And a judge will be there, to grant it. As long as we will continue to have those kind of judges, no, all of these cases will not go anywhere.
This same courts, this same judiciary, the former governor, in which he said mentioned, got a perpetual injunction. A perpetual injunction, so that he will just walk a free man. Injunction in perpetuity, and it was not challenged till now.
It's because of the nature of the judiciary that we have and the powers that individuals in the judiciary have. The person that you are talking about is not an ordinary man like you and I. He has a wife in the Supreme Court, so you expect that he's in position to cut corners, and he's in position to spend money. He's in position to make things happen. So that is the thing. And you see, the powers of the executive over the judiciary are limited. It is the judiciary that can sanitize its ranks. So Buhari can't go out of his way to start sacking judges. The NJC must lead the way.
Yes.
The NJC must lead the way. When the NJC leads the way, he will go ahead to implement whatever the NJC recommends. That is the way it is spelled out in our laws. So if the NJC shows a reluctance to sanction judges, corrupt judges within its ranks, there's nothing anyone can do. There's very little that the president can do. You had the day we spoke with Vice President Osinbajo, and I reminded him of what he did in Lagos. What Osinbajo tactically said, even though not directly, was the fact that Lagos is different. We are dealing with a bigger,
large scale.
Yes, this is a bigger country. If you want to sanitize the judiciary here, it's going to take a long time. Of course, in Lagos, he was able to do that. He had people to work with him. He was focused, and he told the then governor that, look, I want to be given the free hand to do this. Not that I will list someone as corrupt and prescribe actions to be taken against that person.
I think some judges were...
And then you will now step in.
They did away with some judges.
Oh, of course. Some judges were had to go in the end. He chased them away, Manoa, those judges. Yeah, they had to go. So the reality is, it is a bigger stage that Osinbajo and others are operating on now. So it is a bigger task. You see, the president has been talking about this for some time. I know why the president is talking in this way. You know that the man who was accused of shelling out billions of naira to people on the eve of the election, the Sokoto prince, he recently filed a suit against the federal government in which he's asking for 15 billion. The president has chosen this time to find a way to explain why they are keeping Dasuki in perpetuity. These things are usually structured. He didn't talk about this 2 weeks ago, but he has timed it effectively to counter what Dasuki came up with a few days back. Because people will ask, why are you keeping Dasuki in detention in perpetuity? But the reason is, the moment you release him, even though I'm also against detaining anybody indefinitely if our law does not prescribe that, but the moment you release this fellow, honestly, the cases against some of the others will collapse. And we are in a situation in which the EFCC has a particularly bad record. I talk about it all the time. Some people have formed the opinion that I do not like the EFCC. But it will not stop me from saying the truth. The EFCC has a bad record. So what Buhari can do at this stage is to try and squeeze these guys and get them to release what they have stolen. That's the best bet that we have. With the kind of judiciary that we have, Ayo, this case will go on 7-8 years.
They're talking about plea bargaining.
7-8 years, and we will not achieve a resolution.
Yes.
Remember, I just read that the former governor of Imo State has just been given permission to travel. Your Hakim. If Hakim likes, he may not come back. He's just been told to travel. If he can sense jail, if he can sniff jail, you think he will come back? He won't come back. The other, the one, Ebiano, the one who
Chimaroke
Namani, who was so greedy that he was investing in virtually anything under the sun.
Radio station.
Telecoms, this thing, radio, and all that. He also has secured the permission to travel abroad to treat himself. These people have the resources to hire lawyers better than the lawyers that the EFCC parades in court. So, the reality is that how come since 2007 we've not been able to jail one of those governors? Some of them are in the National Assembly as we speak,
making laws,
even holding key positions. I know, for example, that Danjuma Goje, that the EFCC has a case against Danjuma Goje. Danjuma Goje is even the chairman of the Senate Committee on Budget. He has responsibility. I know, for example, that this Zamfara, former governor of Zamfara,
Yerima.
Ahmed Sani, is actually, Yerima is actually his traditional title. It's not his name. Ahmed Sani is He has a case with the EFCC. The case is in court. He is a man who famously tried to use people to bribe no ribadu. You want to bribe people. It's no ribadu that you are planning to bribe. Somebody who got more than $20 million and didn't touch it, and they just sent it to the CBN. So that's the man that you were thinking of bribing, and some little boys helped themselves to some of the money. He is facing prosecution by the EFCC. Up till now, no real progress has been made. So you will find all kinds of politically exposed persons walking around Nigeria, some of them saying absolute nonsense in the newspapers when they should actually be cooling their feet in prison. Since 2007, I remember less than 48 hours after they left office.
The battle against the president right now.
Yes, yes. The bulk of the enemies of Mr. President in the Senate, who are holding meetings, who are looking for a way to impeach him, although they are so cowardly now that they are denying that they have any plan to impeach, are from the APC and they are former governors or the former deputy governors.
Skeletons in there.
So because they have so much to hide, how can a governor award a contract to himself, a contract for 1 billion, to equip the libraries? Which books are you going to buy at that cost? And it's right there in the Senate. It's there in the Senate.
Pathetic.
EFCC has a case with Abdulaziz Muritala Yakud, the son of the former governor of Adamawa State.
He's a senator.
Yes, he's a senator. When I went to Adamawa State in January, I saw clearly that that man didn't really work. It is the governor that they have now. It is the governor that is the extent of the anger that we feel about what we are going through in our country. It is the governor that is there now that appears to be doing something. But we do not really find a way to punish these people. If by now we've been able, the courts have been able to jail 2 or 3 of those politically exposed persons,
yes,
I don't think Mr. President will be talking in this manner.
Yes.
He won't be talking in
so
this manner. You arraign Babalakin walks free. You arraign Dimeji Bankole was released. You arraign Hassan Lawal, the former Minister of Works. He walks free. So what really is wrong with us that we can't jail the people who are looting our country? And we continue, lawyers will continue to file frivolous
That's where I'm going to. Wale Adeoye, you have somebody that might have embezzled 10 billion naira, and that person will deliberately budget 1 billion naira for his lawyers. He will get batteries of lawyers, will get SAN, and those SAN will come to court, and the way, I don't know how much they charge for their briefs, but I know that they benefit so much, because for you to get a senior advocate of Nigeria now, it runs into several millions.
And they don't use one. Sometimes they come with 20.
3, 10,
some of them
20.
For every appearance.
How many sons did Saraki go to court with the other day?
Well,
how do you settle them?
More than a dozen sons.
I think getting a son perhaps is not dependent on your moral high ground. That is what we can see, because I really don't understand why people who are lawyers don't also realize that you have a role to play, in stabilizing the system, in uplifting the country from a state of stupor. But when we have lawyers who claim to be sane, who are defending people that are destroying the country, then it's a very big challenge, for us. And I believe the Nigerian Bar Association has a big role to play, because law should not just be about primitive accumulation of words.
You discover that some of these lawyers, they are executives in the Nigerian Bar Association.
So
the vice
the
president,
the NBA has ethics committee, and if you find a situation where you have about 10 sons defending somebody who has stolen about 10 billion, 20 billion, and then at the end of the day, we are talking about having a stabilized society. This is part of the reasons why you have so much crime across the country.
Because I want to ask, how much is the legal fee you are going to charge?
So I think the NBA really needs to see this as a very big challenge, because I have never seen a country where armed robbers, they take sanctuary, in the chambers of lawyers who are supposed to be the ones that should uphold the moral integrity of the country. So, but I think it's getting to a point that at least we are discussing this issue. Some years back, it's giving, but at least, the AFCC seems to be putting the searchlight on corrupt lawyers, corrupt judiciaries, and I believe that if we intensify the heat to expose these corrupt so-called sons, then I think it's really going to be
judges.
a striking record, you know, if we really want to change the image of this country.
Okay, let me take Ibrahim from Kogi State. Ahmed Ibrahim from Kogi State. Thank you for joining us, Ibrahim. Hello, Ibrahim.
Yeah, Mr. Zugago, good evening.
Good evening, Ibrahim.
Good evening. Good evening, Ozugago. Good evening, Babajide.
All right, good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, Ahmed.
My contribution this evening is, as a matter of fact, those people are playing with our intelligence, those Nigerian looters. So what is good for judiciary to be doing? Let Mr. President give them command. If anybody is taken to the court, let them be there. Let them should not be offered bail. Let them be there and be convicted. So issue of bailing and other things, because those judiciary, especially those lawyers, they are also corrupted people. They are the people causing those all those type of issues.
Thank you, Ahmed. I remember late Chief Gani Fahimi. One day I went to his office and he told me, he said somebody called him 2 a.m. in the morning. And when the person called him, and he now discovered that it was the former governor of Oyo State. That's Chief Rashidi Adewale Ladoja. So I think that time they were hatching the plan to impeach Ladoja. They were at the verge of impeaching him. And the first thing Gani Fahimi told me that he asked from Adewale Ladoja, that have you stolen the people's money? Let me do my personal investigation.
Yes, no.
If I found out that you've stolen the people's money, I'm not going to follow you to court.
Yes.
I'm not going to.
He doesn't just accept anything.
No, not anything. His own is not anything goes.
I think as at that time, there was a pending case of corruption against him, or they were about to take
I
him
don't
to
even
court.
think that case has been.
So what
vacated.
Gani Fahimi now did was that he said, go and clear yourself of that corruption charges, and I swear by the day I was born that I'm going to follow you to court and I will not collect a single kobo.
He told me
from you. He said, I will not collect. Just make sure you go there, clear your name, and I'll stand by you without collecting a single kobo from you.
I want to establish it. Have you taken the people's money? So we don't have lawyers like that again.
Very few.
It's
of
the
them.
number
Very
of
few of them.
Very few of them.
Very few
Even
of
the
them.
ones who
Very few of
make all the noise. When you do some real background checks, you see that they are the ones that in the past they have defended one thief or the other. So I just look at them, I say, look at this one. What do you want? Whatever intervention you make in national affairs amounts to nothing to me. Because you are probably even worse than the people that we are talking about. So that really is the thing. And what has been happening, which this CJN, I just hope that the person who replaces him in the end, when he steps down, would be able to follow through some of these things. What usually happens is these judges are just retired. But it's not enough to retire these judges. You must put them on trial. You must put them on trial.
Yes,
it's not enough to say, okay, this judge has done this. And one thing that happened some time ago that remains a shock to me was that the NJC passed a guilty verdict on a judge from Zamfara State. That judge went to court. He sued the NJC. And the judgment was entered against the NJC. So the NJC is now appealing that same judgment.
I think I have Mike. Mike, thank you for joining us, Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hello?
Mike, yes.
Hello?
You're on. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I have a contribution to make.
Okay.
I think also we should look at the kind of lawyers that are prosecuting these cases in court. The capacity or the experience of people that are prosecuting these cases also matters a lot. So I think the government needs to look at the kind of people they are using to prosecute these cases so that we can have one good result. Not carrying people to court without being sure of what they are carrying them to court for.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for that very interesting intervention. Now, when you look at the judges, I mean, when you look at the lawyers, if somebody is bringing a very senior advocate of Nigeria and is bringing that person to court, and you are using one junior lawyer, the prosecutor.
It's not so much the fact that a lawyer is junior. Remember Ganifa Weme of blessed memory. I remember an interview that he granted, I think to Newswatch back then. Yeah. And he was refusing to engage those so-called sons in court. He was sending a corp lawyer at that time, Oyetibo, who is one of the best lawyers, one of the best lawyers in Nigeria today. He was using Oyetibo to go and engage those lawyers and was defeating them. So as he was granting the interview, he now asked him, he said, Oyetibo, he told them, look, I have one small lawyer here, you know, bright guy. You know, said, Oyetibo, how many sons have you defeated this year? Oyetibo said, 8, sir. He now said, can you see? That's a corp lawyer.
So it's just the choice of lawyer.
Just left school. No, if a lawyer is brilliant, he can do a good job. But the reality is, it is not the job of the lawyer alone. How about the investigating
the officers?
Yes. The police officers investigating.
Because most
EFCC cases have been born good at the level of investigation. And I've seen judges abuse them in court. That you are just not serious people. So, and that's why you find that most of the time they take people to court and it's based on spurious allegations, and then the judges just dismiss.
Our time is fast spent, but if you remember the case of Farouk Lawal, where's that case?
No,
where are we?
It's still on.
It's still on. How many years after? We want to get justice. How many years after?
For so long.
Is it going to be a lifetime thing?
Sometimes the strategy is just to delay.
Just to delay with
people get tired.
Get tired and forget about it.
Before we round on that segment, I think we have to make it clear, especially to the viewers. You know, you never can tell me if some lawyers are watching. We are not saying that accused persons do not have right to engage the number of lawyers they like.
Yes, of course.
But we just felt it is not right. It is unethical. You know, a situation whereby lawyers bring all manner of frivolous application
to stall,
to deliberately
because they know when they go into the substantive trial.
You know, because I remember that during the Bali bombing, you know, the bombers, the only survivors that was arrested, you know, the government was trying to engage a lawyer for him, and there was this threat from different people that no, any lawyer that comes out, you know, to defend this bomber, we are going to kill that person. And the own judiciary commission now came out to say that no, he's entitled to have his own lawyer. That even if you cannot afford one, it's because the responsibility of the state to find a lawyer for him. So any accused person has the right.
Is entitled. Thank you for that clarification. All right, when we return, the rate of kidnapping is what raising alarm on. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. The rate of kidnapping in Nigeria is sadly on the rise. Recent trends show that traditional rulers are being targeted since the beginning of this year. No fewer than 5 traditional rulers have been kidnapped. The latest abduction is the 74-year-old first-class monarch in Lagos, Oba Goriola Oseni, was kidnapped right in his palace last Saturday. As the family awaits anxiously for his return, the son of the Oba said they had resorted to prayers. When will these abductors stop? And this is like the latest trend. Wale Adeye, this is not the Lagos.
It's a very shameful development because traditional institutions, no matter the moral setback over the years, remains the custodian of our heritage. So if armed gangs could go into the home of a first-class Oba to kidnap him, not on the street, but right in the Sakat Palace. And then he was taken away at his old age with the presence of his wives and children.
One of
Even
his
one
wives was shot.
Yeah. Then I
His
think
dad was also killed.
this is a step that has been taken too far. People have been kidnapped in recent time. You know, at Ikorodu, about 40 people, we understand, more than 40 people were killed. But now, we're talking about traditional rulers being taken away. And when I heard it, perhaps I was not surprised, because people have been kidnapped. The deputy governor of Ogun State was shot at, and nothing happened. No one has been apprehended. No one has been arrested. So you will expect the armed gangs to become more daring, because it's a very easy venture for them. If they can raise 10 million naira so easily by kidnapping people, then it becomes a very profitable trade. And I see a situation where they might go, in fact, for bigger traditional rulers or even bigger public officials. So I think the state government should see this as a major challenge and must get to the root of this matter. We understand they operate at the Greeks, and we wonder whether we actually have an effective navy. It's also a question of raising a question about the police system. We have about 33,000 policemen in Lagos to a population of about 18 million people.
Even more than that.
The UN recommendation is 1 police to about 400 people. So we have a shortage of manpower. Then, poor intelligence gathering mechanism. Because these people, you see that it's the same pattern, it's the same gang. And then we expect, in this age of modern communication, IT and all that, for the intelligence community to have been able to track down some of these criminal elements. But up till now, this has been going on for a very long time. And I think the other dangerous aspect is that Lagos has always been relatively peaceful. In fact, since 1999, we have been thinking of building, a mega city. That will be the hub of commercial activities in West Africa. Yeah. And now suddenly this, instability, this, criminal gang taking over the streets and everywhere, not just even about kidnapping. Almost everywhere you talk about cultism, armed uprising in local communities in rural areas. I think it's a very big challenge to the stability, to the economic future of Lagos State. And unless we rise up to this challenge, it's really going to get worse. And I think we are more or less completing a 360-degree a circle across the country. It started from the northwest to the northeast, the south-south, the southwest. Now we are coming to the southwest.
The grazers, they've gone to the southeast.
I think we want to see how the political authorities in this state, the police commissioner, wants to resolve this particular issue. It must not go unnoticed. Nigerians are waiting, want to see whether this man will be brought back. And I'm not just being brought back and then the police come and claim that we have rescued him. We want to know who are responsible for this kind of assault on our heritage.
Wahid, when you look at the modus operandi of these people, it's as if the Governor Akinwumi Ambode, it's as if, he has conquered the land robbers. But everywhere you go to now, you see RRS, you see their vehicles manning strategic areas. So the highways in Lagos, you can hardly rob within Lagos metropolis and you won't be apprehended. So it's that tight. But these people are now using the waterways. Ikorodu, down, Iba, down. And I was told that we have just 2 gunboats in Lagos.
Yes. One we expect the state government, to replicate what it has done, in the hinterland, on the waterways, by ensuring that we have effective policing. Because there's no way you can...
It's not in their jurisdiction. Strictly waterways for Navy.
Of course,
you want to go out of your way to arm Nigerian police the more and to purchase these gunboats. Expensive venture.
Yes, one is aware of that fact, but it will not be enough as an excuse. Because of the fact that in the past, when federal roads were bad, the state government took it upon itself to repair those roads. The government never said, because they belong to federal government, let's answer off. They went ahead, even though they were not paid immediately. They still went ahead and do some of these things for the benefit of those who are residents of the state.
I guess so.
Because a lot of people, it will not even register in the mind of a lot of people that the state government, they don't have any power on waterways. is that enough reason for them to say, okay, we won't do anything about it? Because the same people keep coming, using the same route. I learned that before they kidnapped the king, what I read was that they wanted to enter one community in Ikorodu. It was when they failed that they now, diverted to that
they wanted to kidnap a Nupeng chairman.
So that shows that
the police rescued.
Okay, that shows that they have really studied the terrain. So as they are having plan A, they also thought of plan B. When their plan A failed, they resorted to plan B. That's why they went after the monarch. So it is now the responsibility of the state government, to rise to the occasion. Maybe, well, as the chief security officer in court now, because we know that in the real sense of it, you can't say the state governors, are the chief security officer of their state because of the fact that they have limited power when it comes to the issue of security. But even at that, let the government, do something fast about it. The state governor, can summon an emergency security meeting.
He has done that today.
To see how, okay.
He has done that today.
That's even good that he has done that.
Yeah.
To see how fast they can move. Because as long as there are no consequences for the action, done in the past, they will be emboldened to do it over and over again. Because they have done it over time and they have been succeeding. So they will be encouraged to do it more. Yeah.
Jide, sorry, Wahid. Jide, is this a state government thing? Do you think they have the capacity to, to fortify our waterways?
Of course, they've talked about that in the past. Protecting Lagos waterways is not strictly the responsibility of the Navy. Even the police have an arm that is called marine police. And even the boats, the gunboats that the governor bought
to complement.
He didn't buy it for the Navy, it was for the police. So, but the issue is, are our policemen capable of effectively using this equipment? It's one thing to have fantastic equipment. Somebody has done fantastically well, more than any governor in Nigerian recent history in terms of supporting the police, But the issue is, can our policemen effectively use the equipment at their disposal? Because, look, those guys appear to understand the waterways more than our policemen. Because you see now that the trend has changed. They are focusing on the riverine communities and they are actually kidnapping people.
As a fast getaway.
Yes, they know. Because
they understand that terrain.
At every turn in Lagos, you see a police vehicle manned by people, and the policemen are insured. So you know that the highways in Lagos are not places where you can perpetrate criminality. So they've decided to shift to the waterways where they can achieve an easy getaway. Because they were not resisted. If you drive through the roads, I'm sure that with the communication and all that, they will block you. Maybe before you get to the next major street, you'll be gone down. So they've chosen to now hit us in our underbelly, where we are weak. So that is where they are now. But you see, kidnapping itself is not is a big problem across Nigeria.
Right now.
Fulanis who were not known to be involved in kidnapping, they are now kidnapping people. Remember the king of Ubuluku in Delta State, Edward Ofulwe.
He was killed.
He was kidnapped and they murdered him. I don't know what happened at the end of the day. These guys continue to kidnap people from in any part of Nigeria. Kidnapping is the end thing now.
Look at the military major, the army.
So this is there should be a national response to this problem. It's not we can't say because it just happened
in Edo State, it's on
Rivers State.
Look, Anambra, for example, came up with a law that once you are caught, your home will be demolished. They are doing that now, which is similar to what the Israelis do. Once you are caught for terrorism, in Israel, you've lost your home. They will level that home. They will bring it down. So states are coming up with individual reactions, you know, responses,
legislation,
yes, individual laws. Even the governor of Bayelsa, whose mother was kidnapped before he became governor, one of the first things he did was to say, okay, death penalty for kidnapping. So what I'm saying is there has to be a national response, a coordinated national response that will ensure that we do not allow things to degenerate beyond the point at which they are. Because the more these guys succeed, just as my colleagues have said, the more they succeed, the more they will feel encouraged to carry on. They've been succeeding with big people, and ultimately you pay ransom. Remember, even the case of Babintin, the school. They paid ransom. That guy said that we all thought that they didn't pay ransom. But the guy came out to say that they were shortchanged in the ransom. That the ransom paid to them was not what was mutually decided. So there is hardly any situation in which these guys will kidnap people and then ransom will not be paid. As long as a business has a huge profit margin.
People will continue to
they will die to get to do that business. So, gentlemen, I would say there's a link between unemployment, poverty rates, and
the get rich quick syndrome,
and this high rate of kidnapping. Now, moving on now, Nigerians are facing tough times. The naira has lost its strength, and the purchasing power of Nigerians is dropping. Cost of goods and services has doubled, and living in the country is increasingly becoming difficult. Yesterday, the National Bureau of Statistics said Nigeria's inflation rates rose from 15.6% in May to 16.5% in June. Month in, month out, the inflation rates keeps growing. How much longer will Nigerians endure this economic meltdown? Wale? It's not looking good.
It's
Gary,
really not,
kerosene is not for the common man again. Rice,
essentials of life, things that every man needs to survive. Even pure water, everything has gone up. I think it's a very huge problem. And if you go out, on the streets, you talk to people, you see that people are mourning. There is a kind of mystery, written on the faces of people. Workers are not being paid in the States. And even there is shortage in terms of supply of foodstuff, because of what is going on in the Northeast. The chain of supply has decreased because of the violence, the tomato, the attack on farmers in the Middle Belt, in the Northeast and all that. So I think we are in for a very difficult situation. And we are really, it's appalling that the inflation rate keeps going up, for the past 10 months. There's
we've never had it so bad.
Yeah, we've never had it so bad. Since 2005.
16.5.
Yeah, and they are desperate to do anything to survive. So if we are talking about high crime rate, if we are talking about violence in the communities and cities, we also have
corruption.
We need to link it up with the poor economic status in the country and how we need to address
people are losing their jobs.
Yeah, people are losing their jobs and they need to survive. So it's a very huge problem. And of course, there is decline in terms of production of oil, which is the mainstay of the economy because of pipeline vandalization and all sort of things. So it's really going to be a very tough time.
The price
but
has
a
plummeted
serious
in
government
the international markets
with a vision should be able to tackle this problem headlong. There is always a solution to any major problem. We are recovering stolen assets, stolen money and all that, going into trillions now. We want to see how the government can make effective use of this money that has been taken away, and to also ensure that the little money left behind, do not go to the pockets of corrupt politicians and businessmen.
Wahid, when you look at the minimum wage and what people their earnings, you discover that if you have a double-digit inflation of 16.5% in this economy of today, realistically, anybody, a family man going home with 50,000 naira, how would that family man survive for 31 days?
Well, ironically, the 50,000 naira is not even there in most states. Yeah. We talk about a situation whereby somebody was telling me that, the person just returned from Kwara State, and he said quite unusual about Ilorin, because of the vast majority of people there are Muslim, that the last Salah celebration was the worst in so many years. That people were not just happy. You could see it on their faces as they were going to the prayer ground. You could see that they were not happy. They were just going there just to fulfill religious obligations.
Saraki wisely stayed away.
Of course, he has no choice. He has no choice. Even the governor could not attend. The governor could not attend because I learned that a lot of people are so frustrated. They were so frustrated. They were not happy.
At the praying ground.
For the past 5, 6, 7 months, people have not received salary.
It would have been dangerous for him to go.
People have not received salary, and we are saying inflation will not rise. Another thing we need to get right is the fact that as long as we continue to depend largely on importation, the problem will still be there because we are not producing anything. Rather, what we are doing mostly is to consume.
So we can't change that overnight.
We can't change it overnight.
It's been a problem that has been there.
It has to be a gradual process.
It's difficult.
I know it has to be a gradual process.
We don't have textile industries again.
Yes, as long as we are still doing
we
that,
have to wear clothes.
what we need to do is that let us produce more things. Let us produce quality things. As long as we can produce quality things.
Is the atmosphere conducive?
They should make it conducive. What are the things that are making it
how many manufacturers and companies do you have
for
still thriving in Nigeria today?
For instance, the issue of insecurity.
Churches, yes. My people are waiting for miracle. They expect miracle.
The issue of insecurity is also, one of the reasons why investors cannot come into Nigeria, because no investors will want to put his money in an environment where there is no safety of lives and property. We also talk about kidnapping of people. That's also contributing to the problem. So as long as we continue to depend on importation, we should look for a way of manufacturing quality goods that we can also export out of the country. As a result of it, we will also have the opportunity of bringing in dollars into the economy.
Jide, can you give what you don't have? To manufacture in this, you don't have lights. Will you power diesel?
They should do something.
I was told this diesel is now like 200 naira per liter.
The reality is inflation will keep rising when your salary, for example, what you can buy with it, maybe what you could buy with it last month, suddenly you can no longer buy with it. That's a function of inflationary, the rise in inflation. It's a function of rise in inflation. Simply put, the reality is, right now, in Adamawa State, kerosene is being sold for 650 naira per liter.
Per liter?
Yes.
So that means...
So now, what do you do? What do you do?
Firewood.
The price of petrol has gone up. The foreign exchange, the naira is struggling seriously. During this week, on some occasions during this week, it's exchanged 365, 360. Our currency is extremely weak. It's being buffeted left, right, and center. Against other currencies, our currency is very weak. So in such a situation, you will expect that the rate of inflation will not go down. It will not even stay where it is. I can tell you that the figure for next month will be higher than this. But what Goldman Sachs, the American investment and banking firm, has projected is that it will not go beyond 20%.
Eh?
That's
when
the
it is
projection.
20%,
So
Jide,
it's already
are we going to survive in 20%?
No.
Let me take Abubakar from Kaduna State. Thank you for joining us, Abubakar. Hello, Abu.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, hello.
Abu,
thank you for joining us.
Oh, okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Okay, evening.
Abu.
Oh, well done, the anchor man and Baba Jide.
Mona Agesa.
Well done.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Abubakar.
This is my first time of calling, although I've been trying to reach you severally.
Yeah, thank you, Abubakar. So
Congrats.
many people
yes,
will
you
be trying
guys
at the same time.
Doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thumbs up for you, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. What my contribution actually is, in respect, I wanted to contribute about 5 days ago when one of your Uncle Martin, Babajide, and one other guy, you are talking about the manufacturing sector, that the government needs to, instead of me, my contribution is that instead of the government giving out this bailout to the state government,
Yes.
Okay.
this bailout should be given to the manufacturing sector,
Yeah.
so that they will revive. Like if you take, for instance, this Kaduna, we have the textile industries.
Flourishing textile industry.
Yes. Arewa Tex, UNTL.
Abu? Oh.
I think
We
the
lost,
point,
but
the
at
point I
least
was
the
making
points.
was clear. But in the past, those intervention funds, whenever we came up with them, we ended up giving the wrong people. Look at Obasanjo came up with the intervention fund for aviation. He gave a Jimo Ibrahim,
Jima.
who had failed, with EAS Airlines that he bought. And we had someone like Chachangi. Chachangi was the market leader. The man was down to just 2 airplanes and needed help. A man who was in the aviation industry, aviation sector, with 100% record of no fatality of any sort. There was no time that you had that Chachangi airplane came down. You couldn't help that kind of person. You gave the money to Jimo Ibrahim. Jimo Ibrahim took the money and went to Ghana to set up Energy Bank. So it is a problem. We
Built
have
another
issues.
hotel in Budapest.
Yeah, it's a big problem. So the intervention fund, yes, we came up with intervention fund even for textiles. But go and investigate how that fund ended up. So it's not like the government has never quite come up with this kind of ideas, but the money usually ends up in the wrong hands.
Wale, way out of this.
Well, the government of the day, may I say, still has a lot of goodwill on its side. You know, this is 1 year after. And the government needs to do something quickly before the goodwill withers away. The government needs to put on its thinking cap. The government must realize that we cannot be free of violence and instability when people go hungry, when there is anger and misery on our streets. To put an end to the misery and affliction of the Nigerian people, the Nigerian government, the Nigerian authorities must fix the economy and put food on the table of the average Nigerian. An angry man is an hungry man.
And a dangerous man.
And a dangerous man.
Right.
Yes, the government should avoid a situation whereby, the whole thing will degenerate into what economists will call stagnant inflation. A situation whereby, the economy will be very, very bad. We at its lowest ebb. And at the same time, the employment rate, the unemployment rate will be very, very high. It became a two-way tragedy. No country can survive it. So the earlier, the better. Government should move fast. They should do something, to bring down the inflation rate. It is bad enough that people are not getting their salary. It is even worse that the little that they have, they cannot use it to sustain themselves and their family. What the average Nigerian is asking for is just a situation whereby they can put food on their table. Nobody is talking about building houses or mansion now. But a situation whereby people cannot even feed themselves. They want to survive. They want to be able to feed themselves, feed their family. Because what's the essence of a man that cannot put food on the table of his family?
Jude, your last take on this?
This really is one of the worst times to live in Nigeria. I was reading a write-up, and I discovered that every day 2,300 kids die from malnutrition in Nigeria. And out of then 430 women die daily from malnutrition. What is the major cause of malnutrition? It's inability to feed properly.
Protein.
Yes, when you don't have the right mix,
Your balanced diet.
Yes, the balanced diet. So it's really tough for our people, no doubt about it. As much as they like this administration, they voted for this administration, they were excited about the change, but a lot of them are not happy because things are not going according to plan. I don't think the government itself can say that things are going according to plan. So the government really needs to sit down, especially the finance minister. If she needs help, she must not hesitate to get it. if her experience is not sufficient enough to steer us out of this quagmire, she must get help from wherever she can find it so that the economy can be reflated. When the economy is reflated and jobs are created, because this government promised to create jobs, and jobs are created, smiles will come back to the faces of our people.
There will be elements of stability.
And even we too, that we talk here, we will talk with less anger.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much. Wale Adeye.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very difficult for my producer to get you into the studio. I know.
Promise I'll be here.
Please,
Next
Wale,
time
just
you
commit yourself to our viewers.
Stop publicly blackmailing the man. He's a public blackmail.
So
You want the viewers to know that
Halsey, please, Wale,
I'll be here, please.
for this quality analysis. Thank you, Wale, for always being there with us. And thank you, Babajide, for always being there. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another exciting episode of the program. You'll watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That is youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.